One player that arguably should be featuring more for Manchester United, if only he had maybe John McGinn playing alongside him, is Scott McTominay. Goal machine Scott McTominay, the top joint top scorer for the European Championship Qualifiers so far. And also Scotland themselves won all 5 of their games in qualifying. They topped the group. They beat Cyprus 3-0 this week. And it's looking really rosy for Scotland at the moment. Steve Clarke's got the team playing in a really effective way, pragmatic at times, but also I think attacking enough to kind of look a threat when they go forward. They've got a really interesting midfield setup, haven't they, as well? As I said, McGinn and McTominay are the driving forces of that. So how impressed have you been with Scotland, Myles? What do you reckon to their performances so far?
I think they've been fantastic. And I think actually we are seeing a new side of the Scotland team because they're very well managed by Steve Clarke, as you mentioned. And the quality within the squad is definitely there. I think if you look back to that kind of semi-successful Wales side, well, it's a bit harsh calling them semi-successful. They did very well for what you'd expect of a Wales team, but you know what I mean. There were like real stars in that squad that really shone through, and then they developed players around them. It feels like Scotland are in a similar sort of stage now, but actually their talent spread across the pitch a bit more because there's some top quality players in there. We've known for a long time about Kieran Tierney and Andrew Robertson at left back, but you mentioned there, McGinn he's a different beast with Scotland. I mean, I think he's phenomenal for Aston Villa, and I think he started the season incredibly well at club level. But to see him in a national team shirt, he's a goal machine, which we don't get to see at Villa very often. And the same for Scott McTominay. Now, he's a really interesting one because I think we've talked before about how I think he came through as a striker, didn't he, at United at first? I think at youth level he played up front quite a lot. And then for Scotland,
weirdly,
there was this period of time where they were playing a back three and he was a centre-back. So he's clearly a really versatile player and someone that you're going to look to at this sort of level because he's got that quality. He's played at the top end of English football. So it's amazing seeing him achieve. And the players that they've got around them now, it looks like it's only getting better. There's talk this week that Harvey Barnes might change his allegiance and move over and play for Scotland, which that strengthens them a lot, doesn't it? And they've basically qualified for the Euros. So who knows? I think Billy Gilmore, John McGinn, Scott McTominay, are there a lot of teams in the Euros that'll have a better midfield three than that? There will be some. I'm not saying it's the best there, but that's a good whack, isn't it?
I think you've omitted McGregor there as well, who I think has provided that balance that they needed. They've got almost this like compact square in the middle of 2 pivots, and then McTominay and McGinn are just kind of left to go forward, aren't they? And that's been really effective for Scotland in qualifying, Dave, so far, hasn't it? And something that England have really got to look out for in this so-called friendly, haven't they? Because England's midfield at the minute feels like it's a bit up in the air with, especially if Jordan Henderson starts, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this, both teams actually.
Yeah.
Whether England are adventurous enough and try something different, I think it's a perfect opportunity for them to. I don't think they should fall into the trap of it. It's obviously a massive game, the two teams, but I feel they need to take this opportunity to experiment because there's not going to be many opportunities between now and obviously next year where they're going to be able to try something different. I think a lot maybe try and Phil Foden in that number 10 role where he's looked absolutely awesome for Man City this year in the absence of De Bruyne. But you're right, Mike. I think Scotland, the momentum that they've got at the minute, they really look up the going places, and I think it seems like it's attracting a lot more attention from the younger players. You mentioned Harvey Barnes. We spoke about Elliot Anderson, who's really interesting prospect as well for Newcastle, and that sort of player, and you've got to look at it a bit more cleverly for me. I can go and play for a team who, qualifying for major competitions and develop myself furthermore. For instance, you're going to pick England over Scotland. I mean, is he really going to start? Is he going to get enough minutes? Definitely not guaranteed. But if you're a young talent and you're coming into... you look at the likes of Ireland now as well. Obviously, Evan Ferguson. There's a lot of... they've under the ages, they've got some great players, actually, Ireland. And it's going to be a similar situation. I actually think that these nations are going to really kind of rise and actually really improve and probably push England. And that's just an exciting thing, I think, for, us in the UK to see that happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, isn't it? England and Scotland at this moment in time, Myles. And I think it's a friendly, isn't it, in name, but probably that's about all really, because these contests tend to be a little bit spicy. Are you anticipating a really entertaining game, or is it going to contain a lot of needle and aggression? I mean, the last time the teams played was in a major tournament, and it wasn't exactly pretty, was it? So is this going to be different this time around? It was absolutely horrendous. Yeah, you're right. Are we going to expect anything different this time around, I think, considering how the teams have evolved since then?
Do you know what's difficult? In theory, it could be way more exciting because Scotland are in really good form. Southgate has the opportunity to try some new and exciting players. But if he does that, because it's Southgate and you're so terrified that if you do something wrong, you'll never get back in, you could see the likes of Eberike Eze coming in and just passing it backwards all game because he doesn't want to lose the ball. Like, I don't really know what to expect. I don't think it's going to be a barn burner, I'll be honest. It'll be combative at times. There'll be a lot to do in that midfield because as good as we say Scotland's midfield is, it'd be interesting to see who England line up against them. I feel like they should maybe have a look at some more players. I'd like to see maybe Conor Gallagher, Maddison, Foden, like Dave mentioned. I'd like to see Trent in midfield. I'd be really surprised if we didn't see him play in this game. But if we put Bellingham and Rice in, that'd be a good little lineup, wouldn't it? I'd like to see that too. So who knows? Yeah. It's so hard to predict England at the moment and what kind of game they'll play because you think, they're a bit dull, they'll never be excited, and they'll go and spank someone 7-0, and then you think, right, this could be a good game, and they can barely get a shot on target. So who knows?
Well, thanks for that conclusive answer.
That's the kind of high level analysis that people come to this podcast for. By the way, me going,
I was going to say,
to be honest.